Prosecutor Kang Ji-hoon had never lost a case in 7 years, 147 convictions, 0 defeats. Seoul's legal community called him the Guillotine. Once he had you in his sights, your fate was sealed. Until her. Attorney Ama Mensah stood in Seoul Central District Court wearing a burgundy suit that cost less than his tie, holding a stack of documents that would destroy everything he'd built. Her British accent cut through the courtroom like a blade wrapped in velvet. Your Honor, the prosecution's entire case rests on evidence obtained through illegal surveillance. These wiretaps, she held up transcripts with steady brown hands, violate Article 16 of the Protection of Communications Secrets Act. Every word, every recording inadmissible. Without them, the prosecution has nothing but speculation and prejudice. Ji-hoon's jaw clenched. He'd spent 6 months building this case against Park Enterprises' CEO. Money laundering, bribery, corruption reaching the highest levels of government. It was airtight, perfect. His masterpiece. And this Ghanaian-British attorney who'd appeared in Seoul 3 weeks ago was about to dismantle it in front of the entire legal establishment. The defense makes a compelling argument, Judge Kim said, reviewing the documents. Prosecutor Kang, do you have a response? Ji-hoon stood, his mind racing through legal precedents, procedural exceptions, anything to save his case. But even as he opened his mouth, he knew. She'd found the one weakness in his fortress. The surveillance had been aggressive, pushed boundaries. He justified it as necessary to catch a criminal. She'd proven it was illegal. Your Honor, he began, voice controlled despite the rage simmering beneath. The evidence in question was obtained in good faith. Good faith doesn't override constitutional protections, Prosecutor Kang. Ama's voice held no triumph, just facts delivered with devastating precision. My client has rights. The law applies equally to powerful prosecutors and accused businessmen. Or it should. The courtroom went silent. No one spoke to the guillotine like that. No one challenged his methods publicly. Judge Kim made his ruling. Motion to suppress granted. Without the surveillance evidence, the prosecution's case lacks sufficient foundation. Mr. Park, you're free to go. The gavel struck. Ji-hoon's perfect record shattered. As the courtroom erupted in whispers, Ji-hoon watched Ama Mensah gather her materials with quiet efficiency. She didn't gloat, didn't smile, just did her job with the same cold precision he prided himself on. Their eyes met across the courtroom. Hers were dark, intelligent, unafraid. Most attorneys looked away when Ji-hoon stared at them. She held his gaze, one eyebrow raised slightly as if to say, "Your move." Something ignited in his chest. Not just anger at losing, something far more dangerous. Fascination. After the verdict, Ji-hoon returned to his office at the Supreme Prosecutor's Office, a corner suite overlooking Seoul's skyline, earned through 7 years of ruthless victories. His assistant, Minseo, knocked tentatively. "Sir, the press is asking for a statement about the Park case." No comment. He loosened his tie, staring at the wall where his commendations hung. Prosecutor of the Year 3 times, perfect conviction rate, until today. Also, there's a reception tonight at the Grand Hyatt. The Law Society's welcoming international attorneys visiting Seoul. Attorney Mensah will be there. Ji-hoon's fingers paused on his tie. Will she? I thought you'd want to know. Minseo knew him too well. Sir, if I may, the Park case was solid until I underestimated the opposition. He turned from the window. I won't make that mistake again. Get me everything on Ama Mensah. Education, career history, why she's in Korea. Everything. Minseo hesitated. Sir, is that appropriate? She's a visiting attorney, not under investigation. She just embarrassed the Supreme Prosecutor's Office in open court. I need to understand how. That's due diligence, not harassment. But even as he said it, Ji-hoon knew his interest went beyond professional curiosity. That evening, he attended the Law Society reception, something he normally avoided. Social events wasted time better spent preparing cases. But tonight, he needed to see her again, understand what made her tick, find the weakness he'd exploit next time they faced each other. The Grand Hyatt ballroom glittered with Seoul's legal elite. Judges, prosecutors, defense attorneys, all playing nice over champagne and canapes. Ji-hoon spotted her immediately. Ama stood near the windows, a glass of wine untouched in her hand, listening to an older attorney drone on about some precedent. She wore a simple black dress that somehow made every other woman's designer gown look excessive. Her natural hair was pulled back, elegant and unstudied. She looked bored but polite. Ji-hoon approached with predatory patience. The older attorney noticed him first, eyes widening. "Prosecutor Kang, I was just telling Attorney Mensah about your impressive record. Well, mostly impressive." Nervous laughter. "Mostly," Ji-hoon agreed, eyes on Ama. "Attorney Mensah, congratulations on your victory today." "It wasn't personal, Prosecutor Kang." Her British accent made his name sound foreign, exotic. "Just law." "Of course, just law." He smiled without warmth. "Though I'm curious, you've been in Seoul only 3 weeks. How did you spot that surveillance issue so quickly? It took my team months to build that case. Most attorneys would need weeks just reviewing the discovery. Most attorneys aren't as motivated as I am. Motivated by what? Justice? Or just winning?" Her eyes flashed. "There's a difference. You should learn it." The older attorney made an excuse and fled. Wise man. Ji-hoon stepped closer, voice dropping. "You think you know me based on one case? I know your type. Win at any cost. Bend rules until they almost break, then act shocked when someone points out you've crossed the line." She sipped her wine finally, holding his gaze. "You built your reputation on aggressive prosecution. I just reminded you that defendants have rights too. My conviction rate speaks for itself. Your conviction rate speaks to your ambition, not your justice." She set down her glass. 147 people convicted. How many were actually guilty? Or did you just convince yourself they were because losing wasn't acceptable? Anger flared hot in Ji-hoon's chest. "Every person I convicted was guilty. I don't prosecute the innocent." "Then why did your surveillance violate Mr. Park's constitutional rights? If the case was so solid, why cut corners?" "I didn't cut corners. I pursued a criminal aggressively." "You pursued a conviction aggressively. That's different." She tilted her head. "Tell me, Prosecutor Kang, when was the last time you declined to prosecute a case because the evidence was weak? When did you last admit you might be wrong?" The question landed like a physical blow, because the answer was never. Ji-hoon had never dropped a case once he'd committed to it, never admitted doubt, never allowed for the possibility that his judgment could be flawed. "I don't make mistakes," he said quietly. "Everyone makes mistakes. The question is whether you have the integrity to admit them." Ama grabbed her clutch. "Thank you for the conversation, Prosecutor Kang. I'm sure we'll face each other in court again." "Count on it." She walked away, leaving him standing alone with the uncomfortable sensation of being dissected and found wanting. Over the next 2 weeks, Ji-hoon became obsessed. He told himself it was professional. He needed to understand her legal strategy, anticipate her moves for their inevitable next courtroom battle. But his research went far beyond professional necessity. Ama Mensah, 32 years old, born in Accra, Ghana, moved to London at 15 when her father, a diplomat, was posted there. Studied law at Oxford, graduated top of her class, worked for a prestigious London firm defending high-profile cases. Then 3 months ago, she'd abruptly left London for Seoul, accepting a visiting position at a small international law firm. The question was why? People didn't leave successful London careers for Seoul without a reason. Ji-hoon dug deeper. He found sealed court records in London, heavily redacted, a case involving a British government official, allegations of corruption, and Ama's firm representing a whistleblower. Then the case was suddenly dropped. The whistleblower disappeared, and weeks later, Ama was in Seoul. She was running from something, or someone. He filed international legal requests, using his prosecutorial authority to access records that should have been confidential. He attended every case she, argued in Seoul, sitting in the back of courtrooms, watching her dismantle prosecution arguments with surgical precision. She noticed, of course. After her third case, she approached him outside the courthouse. "Are you stalking me, Prosecutor Kang?" No fear in her voice, just curiosity. "Studying the competition. There's a difference." "Is there?" She shifted her briefcase. "You've attended every case I've argued for 2 weeks. You've been asking questions about my background. Some might call that obsessive. I call it thorough preparation." "For what? We're not currently opposing each other on any case." "Yet," he smiled, "but we will be. And next time, I won't underestimate you." "Is that what this is about? Your ego can't handle losing?" She laughed, sharp and clear. "Prosecutor Kang, I don't exist to restore your perfect record. I'm here to defend my clients, not massage your pride. Why are you in Seoul, Attorney Mensah?" The question came out more aggressive than he intended. "You had a successful career in London, high-profile cases, prestigious firm, then you disappear and show up here. What are you running from?" Her expression went cold. "That's none of your concern." "It is if it affects your legal standing. Are you licensed to practice in Korea? Are there ethical complaints against you in London? Is someone looking for you?" "You investigated me." Not a question, a statement heavy with implications. "Due diligence." "Harassment." She stepped closer, voice dropping to something dangerous. "Listen carefully, Prosecutor Kang. My past is my business. My reasons for being in Seoul are my own, and if you continue using your prosecutorial power to invade my privacy, I will file a formal complaint with the Bar Association. I'm within my legal rights. Legal and ethical aren't always the same. Another lesson you need to learn." She turned to leave, then paused. "For someone so obsessed with winning, you're remarkably bad at recognizing when you've already lost." She walked away. Ji-hoon watched her go, his mind churning with questions and something that felt uncomfortably like shame. That night, he sat in his office reviewing the London case files he'd obtained. The more he read, the clearer the picture became. Ama had represented a whistleblower exposing corruption in the British Home Office. Someone powerful had wanted the case buried. The whistleblower had recanted, then vanished. Ama's firm had been pressured to drop the case. She'd refused, kept pushing. Then came the threats, break-ins at her apartment, anonymous messages, a suspicious car accident that left her hospitalized for a week. She hadn't run out of cowardice. She'd made a strategic retreat to fight another day. And Ji-hoon had just spent 2 weeks making her feel hunted all over again. He closed the file, guilt settling in his chest like a stone. He told himself he was being thorough, professional. But Ama was right. He'd been obsessed. Not with justice or even with winning their next case. Obsessed with her, with the way she'd looked at him in that courtroom, like he was just another obstacle to overcome. With the way she argued, passionate about the law itself, not just victory. With the way she'd challenged his certainty, made him question everything he'd built his identity around. He didn't know how to process what he was feeling. Ji-hoon had spent 7 years married to his career, avoiding personal connections because they complicated things. Emotions made you weak, made you hesitate. He'd excised everything from his life except the law. But Ama made him feel again, and that terrified him more than losing had. 3 weeks after the Park case, Ji-hoon got the call he'd been waiting for. "We've been assigned opposing counsel on the Donghua Securities case," Mensah informed him. "Defense attorney is Ama Mensah." Ji-hoon felt his pulse quicken. "When's the preliminary hearing?" "Next week." "Sir, this case is complicated. Multiple defendants, international wire fraud, cryptocurrency transactions. Defense will argue lack of jurisdiction. Let them argue. We have authority under the Electronic Financial Transactions Act." But even as he said it, Ji-hoon knew Ama would find angles he hadn't considered. She always did. The preliminary hearing arrived like a storm Ji-hoon had been watching approach for weeks. The courtroom was packed. Financial crimes always drew media attention. Ama sat at the defense table with her clients, 3 young Korean entrepreneurs accused of defrauding international investors through a cryptocurrency scheme. She looked up as Ji-hoon entered. Their eyes met. No hostility in her gaze, just cool professional assessment. She nodded once. He returned it. All rise for Judge Park. The hearing began. Ji-hoon presented the prosecution's case with his usual precision. Evidence of fraudulent promises, falsified documents, investors losing millions. Then Ama stood for cross-examination. Prosecutor Kang, you claim my clients defrauded investors, but cryptocurrency markets are inherently volatile, are they not? Volatility doesn't excuse fraudulent misrepresentation. No, but it does explain losses that the prosecution is characterizing as theft. She pulled up a chart. These investors were sophisticated, experienced with cryptocurrency. They understood the risks. My clients provided detailed disclosures about those risks. After they'd already made false promises about guaranteed returns. Alleged false promises. Can you prove my clients knew the technology wouldn't perform as projected? Or did they genuinely believe in their product and simply fail, as many tech startups do? Back and forth they went. Each argument met with a counter-argument, every piece of evidence challenged with another interpretation. The judge watched their exchange like a tennis match. Ji-hoon felt something he rarely experienced in court. Excitement. Ama was forcing him to think 3 moves ahead, to anticipate her strategy and adapt in real time. Most defense attorneys he faced were competent but predictable. Ama was neither. Prosecutor Kang, you've built your case on the assumption that failure equals fraud, Ama said. But failure is not a crime. My clients tried to build something innovative. They failed. That's tragedy, not criminality. They took people's money under false pretenses. That's the definition of fraud. Or the definition of entrepreneurship gone wrong. She turned to the judge. Your Honor, the prosecution is criminalizing bad business judgment. If we allow this precedent, every failed startup becomes a criminal case. The tech industry would collapse under the weight of prosecutorial overreach. Judge Park called a recess. In the hallway, Ji-hoon found himself following Ama. That was impressive, he said. She turned, surprised. Is the great Kang Ji-hoon admitting I performed well? I'm acknowledging a worthy opponent. He hesitated. And I owe you an apology. Her eyebrows rose. For? The investigation into your background. You were right, it crossed a line. I told myself it was professional, but it was personal. Invasive. I'm sorry. Ama studied him for a long moment. Why tell me now? Because you deserve honesty. And because... He struggled with the words. Because you were right about something else, too. I've been so focused on winning that I forgot to ask if I should win. If my victories serve justice, or just my ego. That's quite an admission from someone who never makes mistakes. Maybe I've made more than I realized. He held her gaze. I read about the London case, the whistleblower. What happened to you? Her expression hardened. You had no right. I know. But now that I know, I understand why you reacted the way you did. Someone powerful used their position to silence you, to threaten you. And I did the same thing, used my prosecutorial authority to invade your life. I'm sorry, Ama, genuinely sorry. She was quiet, processing. Why does this matter to you? Why do I matter to you? Ji-hoon could lie, deflect, maintain professional distance, but Ama had challenged him to be honest, to examine his own motives. He owed her the same honesty, because you make me question everything I thought I knew about being a prosecutor, about winning, about justice. You make me want to be better, not just more successful. He stepped closer. And because, when I'm in court with you, I feel alive in a way I haven't in years. Like the law is something more than a game I'm winning. It's a truth we're both pursuing from different angles. That's the most honest thing you've ever said to me. It won't be the last, if you'll let me keep talking to you. She smiled slightly. We're opposing counsel, Prosecutor Kang. Talking to me is literally your job. I mean, outside court, coffee, dinner, a conversation where we're not trying to destroy each other's arguments. Is that appropriate? Socializing with opposing counsel? Probably not. But I'm learning that appropriate and right aren't always the same thing. Another lesson you taught me. Ama laughed, a genuine sound that transformed her face. "You're dangerous when you listen, Prosecutor Kang. Ji-hoon. Call me Ji-hoon. Ama." She offered her hand. He took it, the simple touch sending electricity up his arm. "Coffee. Tomorrow. Neutral territory, and we don't discuss the case." Agreed. They stood there, hands still clasped, until her client approached needing consultation. She pulled away reluctantly. "Tomorrow, Ji-hoon." "Tomorrow, Ama." Their coffee meeting the next day lasted 3 hours. They talked about everything except law. Her childhood in Accra, his lonely upbringing as an only child of divorced parents, her love of mystery novels, his secret passion for classical music. Conversation flowed easily once they stopped being adversaries and became people. "I was 7 when we moved to London," Ama said, cradling her third espresso. "Everything was gray and cold, and people talked so fast I couldn't keep up. I'd get lost on purpose just to find corners of the city that felt warm. That sounds isolating." It was. But it taught me to be comfortable alone, to trust my own judgment even when everyone around me disagreed. She met his eyes. "Like you, I think. You're comfortable being the person everyone fears, as long as it means you're winning." Was comfortable. Past tense. Ji-hoon set down his cup. "You've made me uncomfortable. In the best way. I've spent 7 years building walls around anything that isn't work. Easier to be alone than to risk connection." "Why risk it now?" "Because you're worth the risk. And because I'm tired of being the guillotine. I want to be human again. Messy and uncertain and present." Ama reached across the table, her brown fingers covering his pale ones. "That's terrifying. Being present. Feeling things. I ran halfway across the world to avoid it after London. What happened there? Really?" She pulled her hand back, the moment broken. "I can't talk about it. Legally, ethically, the case is sealed, but..." She paused, debating. "Someone very powerful wanted me silent. When legal pressure didn't work, they tried other methods. I thought I was brave enough to fight. But bravery and stupidity look very similar when you're lying in a hospital bed. So you came to Seoul. To regroup. To practice law without looking over my shoulder constantly. To remember why I became an attorney in the first place. Not to fight corruption personally, but to defend people who need someone in their corner. Like my defendants in the Donghua case. Like your defendants," she smiled, "who I'm going to absolutely eviscerate your case against. We'll see about that." But there was no hostility in the exchange, just 2 competitive people recognizing a worthy match. Over the next month, their professional rivalry intensified even as their personal connection deepened. They fought viciously in court during the day, then met for late dinners where they dissected each other's strategies like chess grandmasters analyzing past games. "You telegraphed your witness order," Ji-hoon said over Korean barbecue one evening. "I knew you'd call the technical expert last to rebut my financial analyst. And you front-loaded all your character witnesses because you know your forensic evidence is weak." Ama grilled meat with practiced efficiency. "You're hoping the jury despises my clients before we even get to the technical details. Is it working?" "Frustratingly, yes. But I have an ace you haven't anticipated." "Do tell," she grinned. "And spoil the surprise? Where's the fun in that?" Ji-hoon found himself smiling more around Ama than he had in years. She challenged him intellectually, matched his ambition, but also made him laugh. Made him remember there was life outside the office. His colleagues noticed. Minseo commented that he'd actually left the office before midnight 3 times in 2 weeks. Unprecedented. Other prosecutors whispered about his humanity breakthrough, wondering if losing that one case had fundamentally changed him. The truth was simpler and more complicated. Ama had changed him, made him question the cost of his perfection, made him want to be better, not just more successful. But their relationship remained impossible. They were opposing counsel. Any romantic involvement would be unethical, potentially case-ending. They danced around the attraction, neither willing to cross the line while professionally obligated to destroy each other in court. Until the night everything changed. Ji-hoon was working late when his phone rang. Unknown number. He almost didn't answer. Prosecutor Kang? The voice was accented. British. This is Detective Inspector Marcus Welsh, Metropolitan Police, London. I'm calling regarding Ama Mensah. Ji-hoon's blood went cold. What about her? We have reason to believe she may be in danger. The individual she testified against, indirectly through sealed proceedings, has recently been released on bail. He has resources and a history of silencing opposition. We've learned he's hired someone to locate Ms. Mensah. I'm calling as a professional courtesy. She should be made aware of the threat. What individual? What case? I can't discuss details of sealed proceedings, but Ms. Mensah will understand the reference. Please ensure she contacts me immediately. And Prosecutor Kang, she'll need protection. Official protection, not just vigilance. The call ended. Ji-hoon sat frozen for exactly 5 seconds. Then he was moving. He called Ama. No answer. Called again. Voicemail. Texted. No response. He knew where she lived, information obtained during his invasive investigation weeks ago, information he'd promised not to use. He grabbed his coat and ran. Ama's apartment was in Itaewon, a modest place for someone of her credentials. Ji-hoon took the stairs 3 at a time, pounding on her door. "Ama, open the door!" Silence. Then footsteps. The door cracked open, chain still engaged. Ama peered through, hair-wrapped, pajamas on, confused and annoyed. "Ji-hoon? It's midnight. What? Let me in, now, you're in danger." Her expression shifted from annoyed to alert in an instant. She closed the door, unlatched the chain, and pulled him inside. "What danger? What are you talking about?" "London. The case you won't discuss. Someone's been released on bail. Someone dangerous. Police called me. They think this person has hired someone to find you." Ama's face went ashen. She sat down heavily on her couch. No, they promised me he'd be held. They promised... Who? Ama, talk to me. I can't protect you if I don't understand the threat. She was quiet for so long he thought she wouldn't answer. Then, quietly, Lord Edward Hastings, British Home Office Minister. I represented a whistleblower who exposed his trafficking operation, immigrants being exploited, documents being falsified, money being laundered through government contracts. We had evidence, testimony, everything. Then witnesses started recanting. My apartment was broken into. My car brakes failed. I ended up in hospital. Jesus, Ama. The case was sealed to protect the investigation. The whistleblower disappeared. Witness protection or something worse, I don't know. Hastings was arrested quietly, but his lawyers are the best money can buy. Bail was always a possibility. She looked up at him, fear naked on her face. If he's out, if he's looking for me, he won't find you. Ji-hoon pulled out his phone. I have resources. Prosecutorial protection services, security details. I can have someone here within the hour. You can't. If you use official channels, it creates a record. Hastings has connections everywhere, including Korea. The moment there's paperwork, he'll know exactly where I am. Then I'll protect you myself. You? You're a prosecutor, not a bodyguard. I'm a person who cares about you. That's enough. He sat beside her. You're not going through this alone. Not this time. Ama's eyes filled with tears. I thought I was safe here. I thought I'd finally found somewhere I could just be an attorney, fight cases, live quietly, and now? Now you have me, and I'm not letting anyone hurt you. He took her hand. I know this is insane. We're opposing counsel. We have ethical obligations. But Ama, I need you to hear this. You matter more to me than any case, more than my record, more than my career. If protecting you means crossing every line I've ever drawn, I'll do it. That's insane. Probably. But I've spent my entire career being perfectly rational. It's made me successful and miserable. Maybe it's time to be irrational about something that matters. She laughed through tears. This is the worst timing. We're in the middle of a trial. You're trying to send my clients to prison. I'm trying to destroy your case. And now you're offering to be my... what? Bodyguard? Knight in prosecutorial armor? Whatever you need. Though I'd prefer something more personal than bodyguard. He brushed a tear from her cheek. Ama, I'm falling for you. Have been since you demolished my case in front of everyone I work with. You're brilliant and frustrating, and you make me want to be better than I am, so yes, I'll be your bodyguard if that's what you need, but I'd rather be yours. We can't. The ethics, the case, recuse myself. I'll hand the Donghua case to another prosecutor. Remove the conflict. You'd do that? Give up a major case because of me? In a heartbeat. Some things are more important than winning. He smiled. You taught me that. Ama leaned forward, resting her forehead against his. You're making this very difficult. Good. You've been making my life difficult for weeks. Turnabout is fair play. She kissed him, soft at first, tentative, then deeper as weeks of tension finally found release. Ji-hoon pulled her closer, his careful control dissolving. For someone who'd spent years avoiding emotional entanglement, this felt like drowning and breathing simultaneously. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, Ama laughed. We're idiots. This is the most unprofessional thing I've ever done. Same, and I don't regret a second of it. He stood, pulling out his phone again. But we're doing this right. I'm recusing myself from the Donghua case tonight. Conflict of interest. Mensah can take over. He's been working it with me anyway. Then I'm arranging private security for you through channels that won't create official records. Private security is expensive. I don't care. Ji-hoon, I can't let you pay. You're not letting me do anything. I'm choosing this. I'm choosing you. He made the call to Mensah, who sounded confused but professional. Done. As of now, I'm off the case. You're no longer opposing counsel. So now what? Ama asked. Now I stay here tonight. Tomorrow we figure out long-term security, and somewhere in there we navigate this thing between us that I have no idea how to do, but desperately want to try. She pulled him back down to the couch. Stay. I haven't felt safe in months, but right now, with you, I feel safe. They fell asleep on her couch, tangled together, two people who'd built their lives around professional excellence finally choosing something messier and infinitely more valuable. The next morning brought complications. News of Ji-hoon's recusal spread through Seoul's legal community like wildfire. The Supreme Prosecutor's office called him in for a meeting with the director. You recused yourself from a major case at midnight? Director Cho looked furious. Without consultation? Without proper procedures? Conflict of interest emerged. I acted immediately to preserve the case's integrity. What? Conflict? You've been prosecuting this case for months. Ji-hoon had prepared for this question. Personal relationship with defense counsel. Romantic involvement. Continuing would violate ethical standards. The room went silent. Director Cho's expression shifted from anger to disbelief. You're involved with Ama Mensah? The attorney who destroyed your perfect record? Yes. Are you having a breakdown, Ji-hoon? First you lose a case for the first time in 7 years. Then you become obsessed with the attorney who beat you. Now you're sabotaging your career for a romantic relationship? With respect, Director, I'm protecting the case from appeal issues. If I continued while romantically involved with defense counsel, any conviction would be vulnerable to challenge. I'm ensuring the case proceeds ethically. Director Cho studied him. This isn't like you. The Kang Ji-hoon I know doesn't have personal relationships. He certainly doesn't prioritize them over career advancement. Maybe that Kang Ji-hoon was lonely and empty. Maybe this version is better. Better for whom? Not for this office's conviction rate. Director Cho sighed. You're reassigned. White-collar crimes division, advisory role. No active cases until I'm convinced your judgment isn't compromised. Understood. And Ji-hoon, whatever you think you're doing with Attorney Mensah, be careful. Office romances are one thing, but you're playing with someone who's already proven she can beat you. Don't let emotion blind you to reality. Ji-hoon left the meeting professionally demoted, but personally unbothered. He'd expected worse. A desk job was manageable. What mattered was Ama's safety. He'd hired private security through a contact who owed him favors. Discreet, professional, no paperwork trail. 2 bodyguards now shadowed Ama whenever she left her apartment. She hated it, but accepted necessity. He spent evenings with her, officially working remotely, actually just being present. They talked for hours, learning each other beyond the courtroom personas. I was engaged once, Ama admitted one evening over takeout. London, before everything collapsed. Andrew, another attorney, brilliant, charming, completely unsuitable for me. What happened? He wanted a wife who'd support his career, host dinner parties, play the proper partner. I wanted to change the world. We wanted different lives. She picked at noodles. When the Hastings case got dangerous, Andrew suggested I drop it. For my safety, he said. But really, for his reputation. Couldn't have his fiancée being a troublemaker. So you ended it. So I ended it. Some compromises cost too much. She looked at Ji-hoon. What about you? 7 years as Seoul's most eligible bachelor. Never married, rarely seen with anyone. Why? Marriage meant vulnerability, distraction. I built my life around control. Controlling outcomes, controlling my image, controlling every variable. Can't control another person, so easier to be alone. That sounds exhausting. It was. Is. I don't know how to not be that person, but I'm trying to learn. He took her hand. With you, I want to try. 3 weeks into their relationship, the threat materialized. Ama was leaving the courthouse after arguing a motion when someone approached her bodyguard. A brief exchange, a flash of something in the stranger's hand, and suddenly, one bodyguard was down, clutching his side. The second bodyguard engaged while shouting for Ama to run. She did, heels abandoned, sprinting for the parking garage where Ji-hoon waited. Behind her, sounds of struggle, then gunshots. She reached Ji-hoon's car, breathless and terrified. He was already moving, pulling her into the passenger seat, locking doors, engine roaring to life. "What happened?" he demanded, tires squealing as he accelerated out of the garage. "Someone attacked. My bodyguards. Ji-hoon, there were gunshots." He was already on the phone with emergency services, reporting the incident while navigating Seoul traffic with illegal precision. "Stay down. Don't look back." But Ama did look back. A black sedan was following them, weaving through traffic with professional aggression. "They're following us," she said, voice remarkably steady despite the terror in her eyes. Ji-hoon's jaw clenched. He'd spent 7 years behind a desk, in courtrooms, living a life of the mind. But before law school, he'd done mandatory military service. Some instincts didn't fade. He took a sharp turn into a narrow alley, then another, using his knowledge of Seoul's labyrinthine streets to his advantage. The sedan kept pace. "Call Detective Inspector Welsh in London," Ji-hoon said, voice controlled despite the chaos. "Tell him Hastings made his move. We need international intervention now." Ama made the call on speakerphone, while Ji-hoon drove like a man possessed. Welsh answered immediately. "Ms. Mensah, where are you?" "Seoul, being chased. Someone attacked my security detail. They're armed and pursuing us through..." She looked to Ji-hoon. "Gangnam District, heading toward Apgujeong," Ji-hoon supplied. "I'm Prosecutor Kang Ji-hoon, Supreme Prosecutor's Office. We need immediate assistance." "I'm coordinating with Korean authorities now. Ms. Mensah, you need to get to a secure location. Police protection..." "No time," Ji-hoon interrupted, taking another sharp turn that made Ama grip the dashboard. "They'll intercept before police arrive. I have a better option." He headed toward the Supreme Prosecutor's Office building. Fortress-like security, armed guards, every inch monitored. If anywhere in Seoul was safe, it was there. The black sedan was still behind them, but falling back. They'd realized where Ji-hoon was heading. Attacking outside a government building would be suicidal. Ji-hoon pulled into the underground parking garage, badge already out. Security recognized him immediately, barriers rising. The black sedan couldn't follow. Inside the garage, Ji-hoon finally stopped, breathing hard. Ama was shaking. "Are you hurt?" He checked her over, hands gentle but thorough. No, I'm fine, but my bodyguards..." "Emergency services are en route. We'll get updates." He pulled her into his arms. "You're safe now, I promise." Building security surrounded them. Within minutes, Director Cho appeared, furious and confused. "Kang? What the hell is happening? Why did you just lead a car chase into our parking garage?" Attorney Mensah is being targeted by an international threat. I'm requesting protective custody under prosecutorial authority. What threat? What authority? You're on desk duty. I'm still a prosecutor. She's a witness in an international corruption case. I'm exercising my authority to ensure her safety. Ji-hoon's voice carried the command that had made him Seoul's most feared prosecutor. With respect, Director, you can question my methods after she's secure. Right now, I need a safe room, armed guards, and contact with Interpol. Director Cho looked between Ji-hoon and Ama, clearly recalculating everything he thought he knew about his star prosecutor. Conference Room 3, maximum security. You have 2 hours to explain this properly. He gestured to security. Guard that room. No one in or out without my authorization. They were escorted to a windowless conference room deep in the building. Armed guards posted outside. Inside, finally alone, Ama collapsed into a chair. This is insane. This is absolutely insane. Welcome to my life for the past month, Ji-hoon said, attempting levity that fell flat. He sat beside her, taking her trembling hands. I'm sorry. I should have anticipated they'd move this quickly. You can't anticipate everything. I've spent my career trying to control every variable, predict every move. Doesn't work with people trying to kill you, apparently. She laughed, slightly hysterical. No, it doesn't. Over the next hours, the situation crystallized. Ama's bodyguards were alive. One seriously injured, one minor wounds. They'd neutralized the attacker who was in custody but refusing to talk. The black sedan's occupants had disappeared into Seoul's traffic. Detective Inspector Welsh connected via video conference from London, along with representatives from Interpol and the Korean National Police. Lord Hastings is still officially on bail, Welsh explained, but we've been monitoring communications. He hired a private security firm, mercenaries essentially, to locate Ms. Mensah. Today's attack was reconnaissance gone aggressive. Why target her now? Ji-hoon demanded. The case is sealed. She's not testifying. Revenge, most likely, and insurance. Ms. Mensah remains the one person who could testify if we reopen the case. Hastings wants that possibility eliminated. Ama spoke up, voice steady despite exhaustion. So what are my options? Witness protection? Permanent security? Living in fear forever? There is another option, Ji-hoon said quietly. Everyone looked at him. We reopen the case. Bring charges in Korea based on Hastings' actions here. Attempted murder, conspiracy, international criminal conspiracy, force extradition. Put him away properly this time. That would require Ms. Mensah testifying to the original case details, Welsh said, breaking the seal, exposing everything. Would it work? Ama asked. Possibly. If we can connect the mercenaries directly to Hastings, prove he ordered the attack, Korean authorities could charge him. Combined with the London evidence, we could build an unassailable case. And it would make me a public target, Ama said. The moment I testify, everyone knows I'm the witness. Hastings' allies, his associates, they'd all know exactly who I am and where to find me. You'd have protection, Welsh assured. Official protection this time. Multiple agencies coordinating. Ama looked at Ji-hoon. What do you think? He wanted to tell her to run, to disappear, to prioritize safety over justice. But he knew her better now, knew that living in fear would destroy her more surely than any threat. I think you didn't become an attorney to hide, he said. You became one to fight. This is your fight, but it's your choice. She was quiet for a long moment. Then, I testify. We reopen the case. We put Hastings away properly. Ms. Mensah, you should understand the risks, Welsh began. I understand perfectly. Someone tried to kill me today. If I don't fight back, they'll try again, and again, until they succeed or I spend my life running. She straightened in her chair. The terrified woman from hours ago, replaced by the attorney Ji-hoon had first seen in court. I won't run anymore. Let's end this. Over the next weeks, they built the case. Ama testified to everything. The original London investigation, Hastings' trafficking operation, the threats she'd endured, today's attack. Her testimony was sealed initially, but everyone knew that once charges were filed, it would become public. Ji-hoon worked the case from the Korean side, coordinating with international authorities. He was officially reinstated to active duty, assigned as lead prosecutor on what quickly became Seoul's highest-profile international case. They worked together now, no longer adversaries. Ama consulted on the legal strategy while protected in a secure location. Ji-hoon prosecuted with all the ruthlessness he'd once applied to conviction rates, but now channeled toward actually protecting someone. The mercenary who'd attacked Ama's bodyguards finally talked, offered a plea deal in exchange for testimony. He confirmed Hastings had hired his firm, provided communications, gave them everything they needed. Korean authorities filed charges: attempted murder, conspiracy, violating Korea's international criminal cooperation laws. Combined with Welsh's evidence from London, they had enough to request extradition. The British government, embarrassed by one of their own operating internationally, cooperated fully. Lord Edward Hastings was arrested at Heathrow Airport attempting to flee to a non-extradition country. He would stand trial in both London and Seoul. The day the charges were formally announced, Ji-hoon found Ama in the secure apartment where she'd been living. "It's done," he said. "Charges filed. Hastings arrested. You're safe." She didn't look relieved. She looked exhausted. Safe for now, until trial, until he's actually convicted, until Ama. Ji-hoon pulled her into his arms. "You did it. You stood up to someone who tried to destroy you. You won. We won. I couldn't have done this without you." She looked up at him. "You gave up your perfect record. You risked your career. You protected me when you had no obligation to. Why? Because you're worth it. Because some things matter more than conviction rates or professional reputation." He kissed her forehead. "Because I love you." The words hung in the air. First time either had said them explicitly. Ama's eyes filled with tears. "You can't love me. We barely know each other. We've been in crisis mode since we met. This isn't real life. It's adrenaline and danger and real. It's real, Ama. I know the difference between obsession and love. I was obsessed with winning my whole life. With you, I just want to be present, whatever that looks like. Even if it's messy, even if I'm difficult and career-obsessed and terrible at domestic life, especially then, I don't want easy. I want you." She kissed him, desperate and deep, weeks of terror and tension finally releasing. They stumbled toward the bedroom, shedding professional armor along with clothes. Making love was reverent and fierce. Two people who'd spent their lives in control finally surrendering to something they couldn't predict or manage. Afterward, tangled together, Ama laughed. "What?" Ji-hoon asked. "I came to Seoul to hide, to practice law quietly. Instead, I got opposing counsel who became obsessed with me, an international assassination attempt, and somehow the most intense relationship of my life. Nothing went according to plan." "Do you regret it?" "Not even a little." She traced patterns on his chest. "Though I should warn you, I'm terrible at relationships. I get consumed by work. I forget to eat. I argue about everything." "I'm aware. I've been on the receiving end of your arguments. They're formidable. And you're a workaholic perfectionist with control issues and a savior complex. Also aware. We're a disaster waiting to happen." "Probably." She kissed him. "Want to find out together?" Desperately. The trial proceeded over the following months. Hastings fought extradition, but British courts sided with Korea. He was transferred to Seoul to stand trial first. Ji-hoon prosecuted with everything he had. Ama testified, her account damning and detailed. The mercenary corroborated. Evidence was overwhelming. The defense tried everything, attacking Ama's credibility, questioning the jurisdiction, claiming diplomatic immunity. Ji-hoon demolished each argument with the precision that had made him legendary. But there was a difference now. He wasn't prosecuting to win. He was prosecuting for justice. For Ama, say, for every person Hastings had exploited. The distinction mattered. The jury deliberated for 6 hours. When they returned, the verdict was unanimous, guilty on all counts. Lord Edward Hastings was sentenced to 20 years in a Korean prison, with additional charges pending in London. His criminal empire was dismantled, his victims finally getting justice. After the verdict, Ji-hoon found Ama outside the courthouse. She was crying. "I didn't think we'd actually win," she said. "I hoped, but I didn't believe. You won. You stood up to power and corruption, and you won, because you were right and brave and refused to be silenced. We won. This was your prosecution, your case. Our case. Our victory." He pulled her close. "What happens now?" "Now?" She wiped her eyes. "Now I figure out if I stay in Seoul or return to London. If I keep practicing law or do something completely different. If this thing between us survives outside crisis mode. For what it's worth, I hope you stay. In Seoul. With me. Continuing to challenge me and argue with me and make me better." He took her hand. "But I'll support whatever you choose. Even if it means long distance. Even if it means letting you go." Ama was quiet, thinking. Then, "I could open my own firm here. International law, human rights cases. Seoul needs more attorneys willing to fight corruption." "That sounds perfect." "And you? Back to perfect conviction rates? Return to being the guillotine? God, no. I'm thinking about transitioning to the International Crimes Division, working cases that actually matter instead of just padding statistics. Maybe teaching part-time at the law school." He smiled. "Apparently, I'm good at arguing in front of people who challenge me. Might as well get paid for it. So we're both making major life changes because of each other. Is that a problem?" "It's terrifying, and exactly what I want." She kissed him. "Let's be terrifying together." Epilogue. 2 years later. Ama Mensah stood in her own law office, Mensah International Law, looking out over Seoul's skyline. The firm was small but growing, taking cases other attorneys refused: human rights violations, corruption, international justice. Her phone buzzed. Text from Ji-hoon. "Running late. Judge asked 47 questions about procedural standards. I blame you for making me care about proper process." She smiled, texting back. "You're welcome. Dinner at 8? Can't. Lecture at 7. Tomorrow? Tomorrow. Love you. Love you too." Even when you're annoyingly right about everything, their relationship had settled into something sustainable. Two ambitious attorneys building separate careers while choosing each other daily. They maintained separate apartments, Ama needing her space, Ji-hoon his control over his environment, but spent most nights together anyway. They argued constantly about everything from case strategy to where to eat dinner. But the arguments were collaboration now, not combat. Two brilliant minds sharpening each other. Ji-hoon had been promoted to chief of the International Crimes Division, overseeing high-profile cases with global implications. His conviction rate had dropped to merely excellent rather than perfect. He'd never been happier. Ama's firm had won 3 major cases in 2 years, establishing her reputation throughout Asia. She split time between Seoul and occasionally consulting on cases in London, Ghana, and across Africa. Her mother worried she worked too much. Ji-hoon agreed, but had learned not to try controlling her schedule. They'd discussed marriage. Both were skeptical of the institution. Too many messy divorces in their families. But they wore matching rings anyway, a private commitment without legal paperwork. Very them. Tonight, Ama had drinks scheduled with colleagues from the International Bar Association. Tomorrow, Ji-hoon had promised to cook dinner, his skills having improved marginally. The weekend, they'd both pretend they'd relax while actually working from the same couch, occasionally looking up to argue about whatever case currently consumed them. It was messy and imperfect, and nothing like the controlled life Ji-hoon had once curated. Nothing like the quiet existence Ama had imagined when fleeing London. It was better. Her office door opened. Her assistant poked her head in. "Ms. Mensah? There's a woman here to see you. She doesn't have an appointment, but she says it's urgent. She's running from an abusive spouse who happens to be a high-ranking government official. Says she heard you're the attorney who doesn't back down from powerful men." Ama felt that familiar spark. The call to fight injustice, to stand up for someone who needed her. Send her in. As the terrified woman entered her office, Ama thought about that first day in Seoul's courthouse, destroying a perfect prosecutor's record, about the man who'd become obsessed with her, then fallen in love with her, about choosing to fight rather than hide. Some battles were worth fighting. Some people were worth the risk. She'd found both in Seoul. "Tell me everything," Ama said to her new client, pulling out a legal pad. "And don't worry, we're going to fight this. Together." Outside her office window, Seoul glittered with possibility. Somewhere in that city, Ji-hoon was teaching law students about justice versus winning, about the importance of being right rather than perfect. And tonight, they'd come home to each other. Two people who'd learned that the best victories weren't counted in conviction rates or case wins, but in choosing each other, day after day, argument after argument, challenge after challenge. The prosecutor and the defense attorney. Obsession turned to love. Enemies turned to partners. Two brilliant minds finally finding someone worthy of their intensity. Seoul had brought them together. Justice had tested them. Love had transformed them both. And they were just getting started. The end. Thank you for joining us on this journey from courtroom adversaries to life partners. A story of two brilliant legal minds who discovered that the greatest victory isn't winning, but finding someone who challenges you to be better. Prosecutor Kang Ji-hoon learned that perfection is lonely, but vulnerability is powerful. Attorney Ama Mensah discovered that running from danger isn't the only option. Sometimes you stand and fight, especially when you're not standing alone. Their story reminds us that love doesn't always arrive conveniently. It doesn't wait for the right time or the perfect circumstances. Sometimes it crashes into your life disguised as your greatest opponent, forcing you to question everything you thought you knew about yourself. The best relationships aren't built on compatibility alone. They're forged through respect, challenge, and the courage to choose each other even when it's complicated. Ji-hoon and Ama didn't find easy love. They found real love, the kind that makes you braver, sharper, and more honest than you've ever been. In a world that often tells us to play it safe, to stay in our lanes, to avoid complications, their story is a reminder that some risks are worth taking. Some people are worth crossing every line you've ever drawn. Some loves are worth fighting for, even when the odds seem impossible. From Seoul's courtrooms to its glittering skyline, this is a story about justice, courage, and two people who prove that the strongest partnerships are built between equals who refuse to let each other settle for anything less than extraordinary. May we all be brave enough to let someone challenge us. May we all find a love that makes us better, not smaller. And may we all remember that the most beautiful stories often begin with someone who refuses to let us hide. Thank you for experiencing this tale of obsession, danger, and ultimately, love. Until the next story, choose your person, fight your battles, and never apologize for being brilliant.